Hello everyone, this is Russ Wagner once again with Hoosier Preppers. We're going to help you learn how to can turkey. And of course the first thing you need to do is cook the turkey. So we cooked the turkey here. This is a 22 pound. I opened the lid away from you because in these roasters they create a lot of steam, and that's how the turkey cooks. Open it away from you so the steam doesn't roll up in your face. And this is a 22 and a half pound turkey. Well, of course, Diana and I can't eat all this meat, but this is a great way to do some prepping because this meat was 49 cents a pound. And so you'll find sales on at grocery stores where the prices are reduced. Buy a bunch of it when the price is low and then can it. We're going to show you how in upcoming videos. We'll show you how to make bone broth, your homemade bone broth, and also how to can the turkey. So there's several sections to this video, but we're going to show you how to can turkey. And you know, turkey on the shelf, and if canned properly, can have a shelf life of 3 years or more. So hope you enjoy it. And right now Diana and I are going to have lunch, and we're going to dive in here and get some of this for our lunch today. This is a butterball. Look at that. Doesn't that look delicious? The Lord bless you, and hope you enjoy homesteading in the ecclesia. We're going to continue this video on how to make bone broth and how to can turkey. And as you can see here, I've boned the turkey, and all we have left here are the carcass, the bones. And over here we have all the meat, and you can see that's way too much meat for Diana and I to eat. So what we're going to do with these, we save the bones and the skin, and I actually forgot, but in the refrigerator I have the neck and the giblets, and we're going to take all of that and put it back over here into the roaster. Now some of you may not have a roaster like this. That's okay. Probably most of you have a crock pot. You can do the same thing with a crock pot. We're just going to put all the bones into the broth that the turkey cooked in the roaster, or as I said earlier, maybe a crock pot, whatever you have. I'm just going to dump them in. So we're going to dump the bones, the skin, and everything. Oh, I forgot to tell you. See this right here? I cut up an onion and put it in the carcass, in the body cavity of the turkey when I cook it. So if you do that, that's good. If not, that's how Russ cooks it. Now, so we get all these bones so they'll kind of lay down in the water, in the broth that was made from the turkey. And then I'm going to add hot water. We want them to be mostly all covered. That was 2 quarts of hot water. And there we go. We're good. And we're going to turn this on 200, which is if you have a crock pot and you're doing this in a crock pot, just put it on low. And then we're going to put the lid on it, and we're going to not add anything more to it. We're just going to put the lid on it, and we're going to let this set overnight tonight until tomorrow morning. Now, I didn't add any salt to this. This is important for me, at least. We didn't add salt to the turkey. It already had salt in the turkey when we cooked it. So we didn't add any salt. We did add Mrs. Dash no salt seasoning. I used garlic and herb and onion and herb, but no salt. Now, why did I do that? Well, it's because a few years ago, in 2017, Diana and I and Barrick went out for pizza one night. And it was at a Pizza King where you can eat all the pizza you want. I think I ate 12 slices of pizza. The next morning when I got up, I was dizzy and I felt really ill. Diana took my blood pressure, and I think it was like 189/110 or something like that. It was a horrible blood pressure. And where'd my phone go? Anyways, recently it's been improved, and improved a lot. The doctor wanted to put me on some blood pressure medicine, but we decided we didn't want to do that. We decided that we're going to try to take it down by exercise and change of diet. So the doctor said that I needed to eat less than 1,500 milligrams of salt per day. So we started looking at all the labels and buying things with under 100 or under in the sodium. And we stopped salting things and using other seasonings to substitute. Now my blood pressure, what was it, Diana?
136/78.
136/78, and I'm not on any medications for blood pressure. So that's one of the advantages of making your own. You know what ingredients are in it. So we're going to let this simmer on low, 200 degrees overnight. Tomorrow morning we'll let it cool, and then I'll show you what we're going to do in the next step to make bone broth, and Diana's going to show you in the next step also what to do to can the turkey meat. That's it for this episode.
Okay.
Hello again, this is Russ Wagner with Hoosier Preppers, and we're working on bone broth, and we actually put this in the slow cooker, the roaster, yesterday after the Equipping Ecclesia broadcast was over. It was probably around 1 o'clock when we put it in, and it's almost 11 o'clock right now the next day. So it's been stewing all night, overnight, in the roaster. Now, if you don't have a roaster, any slow cooker will work. It's just that this turkey was so big, and we already had the roaster out because we used it to cook the turkey. We went ahead and put all the bones in this roaster. So you can see all here. And I put the onions in it. There's onions that we had in the turkey itself, and all the bones and all the giblets. And what we're going to do now is we're going to get all this out of the broth so that you'll be able to see the broth. So it might take me a little while, but I'll just keep talking while I'm working on it. I was actually looking for a bigger scoop that I have that I cook fish with. It's actually a big screen spatula that I use when I get fish out of the oil, and I couldn't find it this morning, so I don't know where it went. But I wanted to talk to you for just a little while anyways, while I'm getting all the bones out of here. We do this for several reasons. It's not just to save money, but it's more about eating healthy. Now, you do save money doing things on your own at home because you can find meat and other products on sale and then buy a large portion, but if you don't have some way to preserve it, it could spoil. And so you have to have a way to preserve it. And canning is an excellent way to preserve. Now, you can do other methods. We've looked into getting a dehydrator, but my goodness, a dehydrator costs $3,000. And so, not the dehydrator, sorry, the freeze dryer. We looked into getting a freeze dryer, but it's $3,000, whereas you can get a dehydrator for about, I don't know, $1,100, something like that. But even then, you still have a lot of other expense involved. So it's not just about saving money, but it's also about eating healthy. And I have to tell you a story. When I was growing up, I ate about everything I wanted to eat, and I ate all of it. And my brothers can bear witness to that I used to be a lot larger than I am right now. And I didn't eat very healthy. So I just ate whatever. And one day in 2002, I was on the way from Colorado Springs up to South Dakota, actually the Sturgis area of South Dakota. And as I usually do when I'm traveling, I don't stop to eat meals. I just eat whatever I can find in the gas station whenever I get gas. And so I stopped to get gas and went into the little market there and just grabbed what I saw. And what I saw was a Heath bar, a Three Musketeer bar, a bag of Doritos corn chips, and a Dr. Pepper. And I took all that and went to the car and began to eat. All of a sudden, the Holy Spirit really convicted me. And I felt like I'd done something wrong, like something really wrong, like robbed a bank or was unfaithful to my wife or something. And I prayed and I said, Lord, what is it? And I thought about it for a while and I thought maybe I forgot to pay. So I checked my wallet and no, I paid. And then I thought, well, maybe I gave her a $10 bill and she gave me change for a 20. And no, that wasn't it. I had all the right change. I looked at the receipt and I said, Lord, why do I feel so guilty? I felt conviction. You know the Holy Spirit convicts us when we do things wrong, and he also affirms us when we do things right. He's living inside of us. And so I prayed and I said, Lord, what is it? What did I do? And he said real clear to me, I want you to eat healthy and stay fit. You're going to need your strength for the days that lie ahead. Wow. That was quite a convicting statement. That was in 2002. This is 2022, so 20 years ago. For the past 20 years, I've been trying my hardest to eat healthy and to stay fit. And I can honestly tell you, I've not had a candy bar or a bottle of pop since 2002. And Diana is a registered nurse. We've spent a lot of time doing research on eating healthy and staying fit, and we're trying our hardest. It's a lot easier to put on weight than it is to take off weight. We've been trying to eat healthy and to stay fit. And one of the ways you can do that is to know what's in the food that you're eating. I heard someone say one time, if you look at the ingredients on a can or a prepared food, and there's more than 5 ingredients in it, that ain't food. And also, if there's words in the ingredients that you can't pronounce, that ain't food. So if you look at the labels, start looking at labels on cans, you're going to see that a lot of what you're eating really hasn't been food at all. It's chemicals, all kinds of chemicals. And when you do your own home canning, you get away from all those chemicals, so you don't have to eat them. I am convinced that a lot of the illnesses that we are facing today are brought on to ourselves from the food we eat and the lifestyle that we keep. If we don't exercise and we just eat all the junk that's out there, well, it's going to show up in our health. Pretty well getting this cleaned out, and I had some more things I wanted to say. We got about all the bones out of here for right now. Now, what we got left here is called bone broth. It does have some particles of the meat in it, and we're going to strain it. But you can add a couple variations to this and make the recipe of the bone broth a little different if you'd like to. One way that you can do that is to use a cleaver and crack open all the bones. Just lay the larger bones, like the big leg bones. Here's one right here. Just lay this is a thigh bone. Lay the bones on a cutting board and take a cleaver and just whack it, and it'll open up the bone. Inside the bone is marrow. And when you crack the bones and open them before making it, it makes the beef broth stronger and you get more collagen. A lot of the Patriot shows that are on the alternative news are selling some kind of manufactured powdered collagen that you add to your drinks and to your food. Well, why not use natural collagen? It's in the bone marrow of turkeys, And you could make the recipe a little bit different by cracking open the bones before you stew them in the slow cooker. Now, another way that you can alter the mix is to add vegetables. You'll see on the internet, you'll find lots of videos where they'll cut up carrots and celery and onions and stew all those vegetables along with the turkey bones. We don't do that because, well, partly because I like the flavor of the turkey itself. I like to taste the turkey. And we're going to use this broth for various vegetables, stews and soups, etc. And so we'll add the vegetables later when we make the soup. Okay? So I'm going to set the bones aside for just a moment. And we're going to get a couple other utensils here. This is a colander, just a measuring bowl. This is a colander that we use when we make tomato juice. I gotta tell you a story. Our next door neighbor has a juicer. You put the tomatoes in it and it separates the skin and the seeds and just juice comes out. And she cans a lot of tomato juice. And that's really great unless the electricity goes off, and then it's going to be worthless. So we still have the colander and we use it to make the tomato juice. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the broth and strain it through a cheesecloth and the colander into what we have down below here. Can you see look at that. Doesn't that look beautiful? Looks like liquid gold. Gonna have to hold this up. We're gonna strain this into the measuring cup and it'll strain out the little parts of turkey meat. One other thing I was going to talk about is sodium. I hope you read the labels on cans when you buy things in the store that are already prepared. One of the things that they put into a lot of prepared foods is salt. And it's my belief that the reason we have so many Americans with high blood pressure, I have people in my family who have high blood pressure, and they're on medications. Statins, I believe they're called. And statins have lots of other side effects that are not good for you. And I didn't want to go on statins, and I think I told you just in the last segment that we went out and ate a lot of pizza one time, and the next day I was dizzy. Diana actually wanted to take me to the emergency room, and I didn't want to go. I said, no, don't take me to the emergency room. I said, but I will let you take me to the doctor's office. And the doctor was good. He told me that if I cut out my salt and lost weight, I wouldn't have to go on medication. So I just did what he said. We started reading the labels on all of our products, and you would be amazed how much sodium is in prepared foods, such as chicken, turkey, and beef broth. I encourage you to read the label. You really have to work to find one that's reduced sodium. Now, I tried to buy everything, or I should say we, Diane and I both, try to buy everything with fewer than 100 milligrams of sodium per product. So if I can eat 15 milligrams per day, 1,500 milligrams per day, that means I can eat 15 items of food in a day and not worry about what I'm eating. Well, when we make bone broth, we don't add any salt at all. We didn't add any salt to the turkey at all. We just cooked the turkey exactly like it was. What I did add is 2 different seasonings. Now you can add whatever you want, I guess. If you want to eat salt and have high blood pressure, knock yourself out. If you want to lower your blood pressure, lower your salt intake. and lose weight. I'll talk about that in a moment. But so I lowered my salt intake and my blood pressure went down. We use always Mrs. Dash, and I'm not making an advertisement or anything, but she just happens to be one of the ones that makes no salt seasonings. And we used Mrs. Dash Italian herb and Mrs. Dash onion herb on the turkey, and thus also on the broth. I'm gonna take this off and set it over there so they can see it. I'm gonna let that drip for just a moment. Now I'd like you to take a look at this. There's these are 8 cup, aren't they? 2 8 cups, so there's 16 cups. 4 quarts of bone broth. And just look at that. Looks like liquid gold. Doesn't that look good? Looks awesome. It smells. There is, I have to tell you, there is one big negative downside of doing this. Well, maybe not a downside. Your house smells like Thanksgiving for a couple days. I had to put up with that. And Ranger, man, Ranger didn't like it at all. He kept trying to get out here and eat the turkey. We're gonna take a break and let the bone broth set here in the 2 measuring cups till it cools a little bit, and we'll be back. We're gonna run a couple errands. We'll be back, and I will take the lard or grease off the top of it, and then we're gonna can it, and we'll show you how to do that. Now there is some left over here. In fact, there's probably quite a bit left, and it still has turkey, little pieces of turkey in it. We're keeping this to do the backfill when Diana cans the turkey meat itself. You have to fill it up with broth or juice. We're going to use broth instead of just plain water. So we're saving this for that project. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Bye.
Hi, everybody. I'm Diana. Some of you have never seen me. You see Russ on Sunday mornings, but I'm Diana. So, first, we want to, I've already gotten the pan out. Our canning, it's an all-American cooker. It you can do 7 cans or 7 quarts or 18 pints. There are 2 shelving, I can't remember what it's called. So you can stack them if you want, but there's always one in the bottom because you don't want your jars touching the bottom of the cooker or your canner because it can warp the canner. The canner is actually aluminum. So we're going to start here. We've already washed our jars and our lids and our rings. And it used to be when I grew up and I canned with my mom and my grandma, they would say you have to boil them to sterilize them. But if you're pressure canning, that's not necessary because everything, any bacteria or germs will be killed in the pressure canning process. So we've already done that. We're going to fill our jars. This is our broth that we made, and it is at room temperature currently. So we're just going to go ahead and put our little funnel on. And we fill it up to I fill it up just to the bottom of this ring, the last ring there. So you have some head space. This is nice and clear. We strained it with a cheesecloth, and it's nice and clear. So that's about where I think I want it. We're using some of the wide mouth and a couple, we've got 4 regular mouth and 2 wide mouth. That just happens to be what we currently have on hand. You can do either, whatever is best for you. And this one's done. Okay, that looks good to me. I might have to bring this out to fill it. You can buy these accessories for canning in a box. It's really nice. They have funnels and the jar grippers and the little utensil that you use to get bubbles out if you're doing vegetables or meat. Broth, you don't have to do that because there's not going to be any bubbles trapped when you're doing liquid.
We'll use some of the others.
So, we got those all done.
Let me tell them. We saved this broth back here for backfilling. Yeah, put it in there. We saved that broth for backfilling the turkey meat. And so she's going to use 2 quarts of that as well.
This smells amazing. And I think he talked to you a little bit about sodium, that we are really trying hard to keep the sodium low, because if you have hypertension and you don't want to be on antihypertensive medications, keeping your sodium down is pretty important. So we actually buy low or no salt broth. And since we're doing our own, we don't add salt. So that does cut down on some expense for us. Okay, I think I like where these are. This one can have a tiny bit more. Just to the bottom of that ring. Looks good. I'm happy with that. The next thing we want to do is, you don't want any of the fat or oil from the turkey or the broth on the edge. These have to seal. So I've got some white vinegar and a clean cloth, and I'm going around, and at the same time you're checking to make sure there's no cracks or anything that would cause them not to seal. And white vinegar is not gonna, if any happens to drop it, just a tiny drop into your broth, it's not gonna be toxic or hurt anyone, because it's not something that is harmful. So that's pretty good so far. We have in our past done a lot of canning. I grew up in a little town, Huntington, Indiana, and my grandma was a farm cook. They farmed and she canned, and she had a cellar that was full of canned meats, fruit, vegetables, lots of good stuff. And I used to can with her. Okay. Feels good. There's no chips and they're clean. Next thing, we've washed our lids. They're clean. And we're just going to put some lids on. The lids, of course, if you can, you know there's a seal that, and they come in both the wide mouth and regular. Did I put 2? I got them. Okay.
You got them.
I got them. Alrighty, next we're going to put the rings on, and the rings are just finger tight. You don't want to crank them really hard. Just finger tight so that they're snug. And now hold the lid tight enough that it'll seal. One of the best things to listen to when you're canning is when they pop, when they're sealed and they're cooling and you hear those pops. It's just awesome. My grandma would get totally excited when she heard those pops of those jars. You have to get it going straight or it doesn't fit tight. Those are good. 2 more. Sometimes it's a little tricky to get it to set straight. Gosh, I'm not getting this on right. There we go. Okay. Now on our cooker here, we did put water in. You always have to have water in there. And I think we put 3 quarts. If you look at your manual, it will tell you how many quarts. Now these are ready to go into the cooker, the canner. And the water is already, I have it on, and it's warming up. It's not boiling hot, but it is warm. You don't want to put cold jars in hot water or hot water in cold jars, so they can crack. All right, now they all have a little space. Everything looks good. I got one more. I don't want them to be banging around, hitting each other either. Nice. Okay, next we put the lid on. This is, I think I said in All American, there is an arrow. The arrow needs to go here, but you start out with it to the side a little bit and straight. There, I can feel it snap. Then you pull it over. Arrows lined up. These are lined up. Now when you tighten it, one thing we did that they suggest is put just a tiny bit of oil with your finger or whatever around the edge to help the seal, and also on the screws.
Thumb screws.
The thumb screws. So you seal opposites, because that makes it go down straight. And the first time around, you don't want to tighten it, you just want it to be snug. That's snug. Now I want opposites, so we're doing just snug. Okay, 2 more. There's different types of canners, and they have different types of pressure mechanisms. This one has just this little place right there, and for now we want it straight up because we're going to turn this on and it's going to build up steam. It needs to have steam coming out consistently for about 10 minutes, and once you have that, you lock it like that. And then you watch your pressure gauge. And for quart jars, it's 10 pounds of pressure for 90 minutes. When they're done, you don't want to open up this steam thing or take the lid off before it's completely cool and this is down to 0. When your gauge is at 0, you're good. Some people do open this after this is 0 and let a little steam out, but then it's you can open it and take your jars out. If you open too soon, it causes whatever's inside the jar to pressurize, and it'll move up and it can pop your lids off. I think that's all.
Okay, we're going to tighten these down and turn the heat up and get it steaming, and we'll be back when it is.
Okay, so now we have our canner. The steam is coming out at a pretty solid rate here. It's still open, and we're going to go ahead and close it.
Just tip it sideways.
There we go. Now it's closed, and we want the pressure to get up to 10. So we're going to adjust the, burner to get our pressure at 10. I'm setting the, now I'm going to set the timer to 90 minutes. And in 90 minutes, we'll let it cool down and we'll show you the finished product.
Well, we had the pressure cooker going at 10 pounds pressure for 90 minutes. And then Diana turned it off and we let the pressure go down all the way down to 0 by itself. It's been about an hour sitting with the pressure off. And the steam valve is open and there's no steam coming out. The pressure gauge says 0. So we're gonna open it up and see what we have. You open it the same way you do the closing. You do opposite sides. And you just loosen them a little bit. And then you start loosening them up some more. Okay, I'm going to need a hot pad because it's still hot. When you open this up, you want to tip it away from you because otherwise you're going to get a face full of steam. Let's see what we got in here. There's one. Two. Three. Four. These are a little bit bigger. These are the wide mouth jars. There's two wide mouth jars. 5. 6. Diana, can you get up, focus in close on those? Look at that. 6 quarts. My, it looks beautiful. It looks like almost like honey, the color of honey. There it is, 6 quarts of homemade turkey bone broth. No chemicals, no artificial flavoring, no artificial coloring, no salt added. The only seasoning we used was Mrs. Dash's garlic herb and Mrs. Dash's onion herb. And wow, it's beautiful. I can't wait till we get to try this with some turkey dumplings, maybe some turkey noodle soup, whatever we're going to use them for. All right, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.
Hello, this is Diana again, and we did our broth and it sealed really well. We heard the little pop, everything's sealed, and it's on our shelf to store. Today we're going to talk about the turkey. We've cooked our turkey, and it's I've filled a few jars, but I did want to talk a little bit about this. You want to go through, and any skin or gristle we pull off, because if you leave it in the jar, it has a chance of the fat and content and the gristle can cause the seal not to be good. It pops the seal. So I just cut it in cubes, or however you like it. Some people string it, but I do these cubes because then when you open it, you can actually use it for salad, a turkey salad, or put it in noodles, or just a lot of different things. A little promo here. We have a set of these CutCo knives, and they're excellent. A little costly investment in the beginning, but they have a lifetime warranty. And in fact, a little story, my grandma, actually it was my mother's, had a pair of CutCo scissors, the kitchen scissors, and they were rusty and dull. I sent them to CutCo. They sent me a brand new pair. I was amazed. So, and our grandson does sell this, or he's a distributor, so we can put a link below if you're interested. It helps him out, and that would be appreciated. So now I'm just putting these into the jar, and again, I try to stay somewhere near the bottom line. You can press them down a little bit, but not tight, because we're going to fill this. You can use water, hot water, boiling, not really boiling, but hot, or you can use broth. Now the rest of this, I don't really want to pack these too much tighter. So I guess Russ gets turkey salad for lunch.
Yum.
Okay, we're done with this. Now, I use the gloves handling the turkey itself, but I'm going to take them off because actually they're kind of greasy and I don't want to drop the ladle where I'm not really touching the food now. So I'm going to take these off. We're done with those. So I'm going to use this, hopefully. And if you don't really want to use that, maybe I'll just try pouring it in. And I'm going to move my pan over here so it's closer to me. Now I've got it was broth. We had some broth from when we canned left, and we added some distilled water. So it's pretty, it's not boiling, but it's hot. So we're going to maybe, I just want to be sure I'm going to make it into the can. And again, we're going to try for about the bottom ring of the, it's plenty. And I'm going to move this over just a little bit. It's easier for me to do that. And that's pretty close. Some people use, I have a measure, you can use that, but I just kind of eyeball it to the bottom of the ring. Okay. Now when we get these in here, we're going to get bubbles out. And that's Ranger. Probably a delivery guy. He thinks delivery people should not be in our neighborhood. He assigns himself as the watchdog of the neighborhood. Okay. Kind of just eyeballing these. And I can add, after I do bubbles, I can always put it just a little more in if I need to. If you have a something that is easy to pour, you can do this in it. But this works pretty good for me. Oops, pretty close. These are full. A few more. I think we're going to end up with 9 pints. We do pints because there's the 2 of us, and pint should be fine. If we want more, you can always open up 2. Whereas with a quart, if you open it, you have leftover turkey, and we don't want it to get forgotten in the fridge and not get eaten. So this works pretty good for us. That's got some, it's a little short. Again, if you're a little short, you can go back, add just a tiny. That's pretty good. 3 more, and we'll have it done. Now, when you put the turkey in the jar, you can push down a little, but don't pack it tight. Oh. Yeah. Maybe you can talk to them when I do. Okay, a couple more. I think our broth and water is going to work out just right. Oh, pretty close. So you want to leave head space. This one's pretty full, so I don't know. We'll see. And you can always take a piece of turkey out if you need to. Hard to see what's going on until I get some bubbles out. Now I'm going to save that little bit of broth because I may need it in a minute. One thing I didn't do is get my vinegar out, so I'm going to let Russ chat with you for a minute while I do the vinegar.
Well, all I can say is this is awesome. We love Thanksgiving, and quite often we buy extra turkeys, and that's what we did this year. We actually had 3, and I like to eat turkey. The neat thing about this is we are actually canning Thanksgiving so that we can spread it out all year long. So it just prolongs the celebration and the giving of thanks throughout the year. Every time we open up a new jar of turkey, we give thanks to the Lord for his provision and his protection over us. You want to tell them what you're doing there now?
I am trying to get the bubbles out. So we go around the edge and see if our bubbles, again, we talked about this with the broth. We didn't do it with broth, but when you have solid meat or vegetables, you can get bubbles trapped, and that can cause you some issues with the seal. So I'm thinking this looks pretty good.
Just go 4 times, I think.
That one's done. It's a little more difficult because you got to go around the turkey.
You want to tell them why you get the bubbles out?
Yeah, because of the seal. If the bubbles, when they're cooking, the bubbles rise and it can cause your seals to pop off.
And if there's air trapped in the bottom, when the process of cooling off takes place, and those bubbles can expand too rapidly and pop the seal then too when it's cooling off.
A couple of these I think I'm going to need to put a little more broth on. They're not very full. Again, you can push down a little bit, just don't pack really tight. Just even pushing a little bit, I can see some bubbles. So we don't want them causing us issues. So this little utensil came in a box with some other, with the funnel and a couple other grabbers, and it comes in a little box. It's a kit. And it's really handy. We've had it now for a while. They're very nice. But you can use, some people use skewers or other things just to get the bubbles out. Whatever you have, you can use. Okay, I think I did this guy.
You did.
I think we're pretty good. I might have to add a little more broth to a couple. This one's kind of short. And this one definitely. Again, you can use water, distilled water or purified water in your jars instead of broth, but we had a little bit of broth, so we mixed it with water. So it makes it just a little tasty when you open it. Okay, I'm thinking they look good. Next, we have some white vinegar and a clean cloth. And we're going to dip the cloth in the vinegar and go around the edge to get any fat or turkey or oil, anything that would cause it not to seal. And again, the white vinegar is not going to hurt. It will not hurt what's inside your jar because it's edible. Some people add vinegar to some of their canning. We don't do that, but some people like to. These are new jars, so I'm really not concerned that they're chipped. But that's another thing. When you're doing this, you can feel any chips so it won't seal. So we've been thinking of other things we want to can this summer. We're putting out a garden, and we want to do some more meats, chicken, and maybe try to can fish. That's an adventure, I think. We have a lot of bluegill. Our neighbor here at the lake catches bluegill, and he has a certain number that he will keep, and if it's anything under that, he gives it away, and sometimes we're the recipient of bluegill. So our freezer currently has quite a bit of bluegill, so we may decide to can that. Our freezer's kind of full, and we want to can because sometimes our electricity goes off. One time our freezer broke last summer, and it was a quick finding places to put everything. Our neighbors, our son, anybody that could take any of our food. Okay, now I've got those cleaned. I'm going to take my lids. Each person, you want to make sure if you store your lids that they're not dry or cracked, and they need to be clean. These have been washed, and we talked about, it used to be that when you canned you had to boil everything and sterilize it, but now they're saying when you pressure can that that's not necessary, because the pressure canning, the heat, the pressure of the canner kills bacteria or germs or whatever would be there. Okay, now we're going to put the rings on, again finger tight, not cranked down real hard, just so that's snug, to hold the lid in place. We've got our canner, water in our canner, and it's not boiling, but it's warming up. Our dog Ranger likes chicken or turkey, and the smell of it was driving him a little crazy this morning. So we had to shoo him out of the kitchen a number of times. So if you heard him barking, it's because he really wanted to get close to this turkey. Okay. One more. All right. So they're ready now for me to put them in the canner. And there is a shelf. The rack is already in here. Again, you don't want to cook on the canner just putting the jars directly on the bottom without the rack. Not a good idea. Now, if we wanted, we have a second rack, and we could put 18. We're only doing 9 today. But we could put our second rack and do another layer of pints. We're not doing that today. If this works. Okay, I'm not sure I can get 9. I thought it was 9.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
We're gonna go with 8. It's supposed to be 9, but 8 is gonna be, because I don't want them too close that they'd bang around and crack. So we're gonna do that, and we'll eat this later. And now, we put the lid on, and we want this mark lined up. You put it to the side and then turn it to the mark. Now it needs to be on straight so that they're all about the same, because you don't want to tighten it down if it's not. This feels straight, I think. So I think it's straight.
Yeah.
Now again, you tighten it, or you start putting it on opposite and not real tight at first, just snug. Don't crank it tight. See, it's gotta go up. Okay. Now.
Okay, we had to stop there for a minute because the lid was not quite straight. When Diana had to loosen up 2 of them to get the little thumb screws up, I knew what was wrong. And let me show you something. Can you see right here, this gap, and here, and then you come around to the other side and see if it's about the same. Otherwise, you know, you don't want the lid high on one side or low on the other side. It should be about the same all the way around. And when Diana had to loosen up 2 of the thumb screws to get the lid on, I knew something wasn't quite right. So we stopped the video, and we're back now. She's going to finish telling what she's going to do here.
Okay, so now I leave this gauge, the steam gauge, open. Valve open, and I've turned up the heat, and this will start steaming. And when you get a steady stream of steam, you want it to go on for about 10 minutes, and after the 10 minutes you flip this down and it will close it like that. It closes it, then your gauge will start going up, and you want the gauge, we use 10 pounds of pressure. If you're in a different altitude you might want 15, so check on that. We use 10 pounds of pressure for 75 minutes for the pints.
Correct.
And after that, we just let it set. We turn the heat off and let this cool down until it's 0. And there'll very little or no steam coming out. Then you can open it and set your jars off to seal.
Okay, that concludes, well, no, we've got one more movie. We're gonna have one more little section here. We wanna show you what the pints look like when they get all done. So we'll be back in after 75 minutes, and then in about another half hour for it to cool down. So a couple hours we'll be back and finish this video on canning turkey. Hello again. This will be our last episode on canning the turkey. Between the last episode, the previous one, and this one, as you remember, Diana put the heat up on the pressure cooker till it steamed a steady flow of steam out of the vent, and then she timed that for 10 minutes, letting the steam come out of the steady flow, and then shut the valve on the vent and got the pressure up to 10 minutes. We timed it again and cooked it for 75 minutes. After the 75 minutes was over, we kept it at 10 pounds for 75 minutes. After that was over, we just shut the fire off, shut the stove off, and let the pressure go down all by itself. That's been a while. It's been over an hour now, and then it went back down to 0. And when the steam stopped, when there was no steam coming out of this, we opened this up, no steam coming out. Now we can open the lid. So we're going to open the lid and see what we got in here. I'm going to grab a hot pad. When you open it, you want to open the back side first and let the steam out the back so you don't get it in your face. And there you go. We're going to see what we got in here. Oh wow, look at that. It's still bubbling. I'll move that over a little bit so I can get them all in here. Four. Kind of hard to get out of there without banging them around. 5. 6. 7. And 8. There's 8 pints. You can come over here and get a close-up of them, maybe. The cooker, the canner is actually made to hold a total of 18 pints, and so it's supposed to be 9 on each row, but because these are wide mouth jars, we can only get 8 in comfortably without them banging up against each other. So we have 8 pints of Thanksgiving that we get to enjoy all year long. 8 pints of turkey. Now all we have to do is let them sit, and they will seal and pop. When they pop, that means the seal has taken, and that's it. We hope you enjoyed the whole process. There, one popped. Did you hear that? One of them popped. That was awesome. We hope you enjoyed the whole series. Thomas is going to help us put it together, and we hope you're going to get into homesteading in the ecclesia to become self-reliant. Remember, if they can't control you if you don't need them. Okay? Well, the Lord bless you, and have a great time home canning and homesteading in the ecclesia. Goodbye for now.